Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the go-to platform where faith-driven entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts share their stories, wisdom, and expertise to inspire and impact others. This isn't just another interview series. This is a strategic platform designed to amplify the voices of high-level entrepreneurs, which especially includes kingdom entrepreneurs who are making a real difference in their industries. My goal is simple: to serve you, the expert, by giving you a stage to share your message, expand your reach, and create lasting value for others. Through authentic, in-depth conversations, we uncover the real journeys, challenges, and victories behind today's leading experts. Each interview isn't just content. It's a powerful asset that helps you to establish authority, increase visibility, and connect with the right people. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to yet another interview. And I have a really special guest today. Her name is Darcie, and she's the host of the School of Hard Knocks podcast. She is an NLP practitioner, clinical hypnosis practitioner, and a transformational coach dedicated to helping people get unstuck from trauma and grounded in their healing. After navigating her own journey through loss, caregiving, and personal transformation, Darcie now uses her voice, story, and tools to guide others towards emotional freedom, self-leadership, and lasting change. Through her work, she creates safe, empowering spaces where real conversations happen, helping people move from survival mode into a life of clarity, confidence, and purpose. Welcome to my interview, Darcie. So really excited to have you here today, and I can't wait as we unpack your story. So I am going to actually hand the microphone right over to you and let you begin unpacking.
Thanks so much for having me, Ken. I'm so excited to be here. So, like I've been saying, open your suitcase because here comes some unpacking, right? So, I am a survivor of childhood trauma, and that's the beginning of my trail of trauma in my life. So, when I'm talking about childhood trauma, I'm talking about like lifetime movie type of, criteria. My dad was a drug abuser, he was an alcoholic. I'm the oldest of nine. So, the abuse was myself, all of my siblings, as well as my mom. I've definitely witnessed my fair share of inappropriate things that happened from the age of 4, which is my first memory.
Wow.
So if I were to ask you what your first memory is, I'm hoping that it's a really good one. Mine is actually of watching my dad almost take my mom's life. So that's my very first one. And then we move through all different kinds of levels of just, like I said, abuse and all of that. My parents finally were divorced when I was 16 years old. And it's so interesting because, by that time there were already 9 of us. Like I said, I have 8 siblings. There is, I believe, a 13-year difference between myself and my youngest sibling. So, my parents definitely knew how to make babies, but as far as married and, things like that, not so well. But they finally got divorced at 16. And I remember telling my mom, this is something you really need to think about here because I'm out of here in 2 years. Like as soon as I turn 18, I am moving out. But there are 8 other kids, and this is not a healthy situation. So my mom she did finally leave, but the unfortunate thing is my mom ended up falling in love with somebody who was maybe a step down from my dad, but still had the same qualities of being an alcoholic and used drugs and would try to be abusive to my mom. Um, and he was just, him and I did not mesh very well together. But he was about 7 years younger than my mom and had decided that he did not want to be with a woman who had that many children. And my mom loved this man. I what I can understand. I mean, I can't understand what happened, but she basically separated all of my siblings. And all of my siblings went to go and live with people in my dad's side of the family, which was really unfortunate because if we talk about the trauma that my dad went through and why he was who he was, a lot of that is because of what had happened to him as a child.
Mm,
And now my siblings are living with, two of them, one to one sibling, two, one to another. Two went to his actual parents, which is probably like the man from the hot place's den. So I was pretty surprised that they had went there. And unfortunately, nobody wanted my brothers, so they went into foster care,
mm,
which just led them down, a really tumultuous life of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, just never feeling like anybody wanted them because that was already how we were raised. I got to stay with my mom because I was 16, almost 17 years old. And upon seeing the same classic thing that I had been seeing in my childhood, but just with a man that I didn't really know, alcohol and drugs and inappropriateness, I put myself into a foster home at the age of 17. And the first foster home was not good.
mm.
I just thought, oh my gosh, like, how did you people get qualified for this position? So I went into a second foster home and they were fantastic. They were the Leave It to Beaver family. Like, let's all sit together at the table and eat. And how was your school day? Do you need help with schoolwork? And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, this is not normal to me. I
To
don't know if I
Disneyland.
can. It was just like, oh, wow, this can't be how people are really living, is it? But it was. But I decided to emancipate myself. So at the age of 17, I moved out on my own, walked to two jobs and went to school and was paying bills before I was old enough to vote. So it was just this very crazy time because I still had no idea really what I was supposed to be doing. And like adulting was a hard thing for me to learn because I didn't have the best examples, but no one had really taught me. Like you don't know what you're not told.
Right.
And then I met my husband at the age of 19. And my husband is 7 years older than I am. And he is a survivor of a car accident from when he was 9 years old that left him with a traumatic brain injury. And you would never know upon talking to my husband really that he has a traumatic brain injury, but his frontal lobe was damaged. So, not good decision making skills and very quick to anger, which was not good with me because I was a very angry young lady.
Mm.
Because I had gone through a lot of stuff. And then you start throwing alcohol in there. And we had probably about 5 years of our relationship that I was like, yeah, this is feeling very much like my childhood. We need to stop doing what we're doing. So I'm happy to say that we did do that. We just celebrated 21 years of marriage and we have been together for 27 years. So we did make it through that. But adulthood proved to be hard for both of us because I didn't have the tools because I wasn't taught, and he didn't have the tools because of the accident had held him back. And honestly, his parents really catered to him because he was like their prized possession since he survived this incident that happened.
Mm.
So I decided to put myself really into corporate America. And I was a nursing assistant for a very long time. I ran a payday store for a very long time. And then I wound myself up in the worst job I've ever had in my entire life, which was working for the number one independent car dealership in the state of Wisconsin. And it sounds so incredible, but
Actually, I rolled my eyes because it actually sounds like too over the top.
because that's how the owner was. And here's the interesting thing. Because at this time in my life, I had been really searching for like a male figure, right? Like
Hmm.
my dad was not who I needed him to be my whole entire childhood. And by the time I fell into this job, I was 29. So my husband and I had already been together for 10 years. 5 of those years we're dealing with alcoholism. Now these 5, we're just trying to figure out how do you get grounded in life? Like how do you like succeed. Like, hey, get the things. Like, how do you do it? This is like Monopoly, and I keep hitting go to jail and like lose turn. Like, what's going on? I don't really like this game. So I come across this position and make it up to the fourth highest position in the company. And it's all great because it's being fed into me what I was missing as a child. You're such an important part of this industry. We couldn't do all of this without you. And here's your fantastic insurance and a corporate vehicle and salary. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing way better in life than what I thought that I was gonna ever do, right? Because I didn't
Hmm.
even know what I was gonna do. Um, and then I fell into the being a puppet while he was the mariachi. And if the owner of the company said, your team of girls would make a lot more money back there if you all wore dunce hats on Friday, I would have been the boss who was like, so who wants like pink and do you want stickers and glitter on yours? Because we're wearing dunce hats because he said. And it ended up drawing this wedge in between me and the team where they wanted me out. I was no longer their friend. I was the enemy. So in this corporate betrayal, they decided to make up a whole bunch of stories about me and have me fired. And I went through this time in my life where I literally did not want to be here. Like
Mm.
coming home and just drinking until the point of pure blackout was how it ended up being. Because now what? Now what? I thought I had everything put together in a life that I didn't even know how I was going to put it together. And now, because these women feel insecure about their ability to do their job, it gets yanked away from me. Great news. So I decided to go into network marketing because, well, why the heck not? That just seems like an easy thing. Throw $100 at something, get a kid in makeup. I can probably learn makeup and teach women how to do it. So I started doing that. It was so awkward for me because I only had like 230 friends on Facebook at that time. If I didn't know you, we didn't shake hands, you were not allowed into my private life. That is just how I operated. I was always in like this safe space because strangers were scary to me.
Hmm.
So I had to open up this whole world of allowing people into my life and connecting with people. And it was very bizarre. And it took me about 3 years to get to where I was like, okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this, staying consistent. I've got 80 some people on my team. I'm a car bonus earner. I'm, in the top 4% of the company. Things are going good. I just earned a Bahamas cruise. Like, okay, again, I think I'm figuring life out. This is so fantastic for me. And October 3rd, 2019, everything changed.
Mm.
So I earned this cruise on the last day of September and I'm all high on life. And October 3rd, 2019, my dad becomes a survivor of a workplace shooting in our area. And it resulted in a traumatic brain injury. And I thought, oh my gosh, total wind out of my sails. What am I going to do? My dad never remarried after my parents' divorce. I'm the oldest. I'm responsible because I'm next of kin. Unless it's somebody who wanted to fight for guardianship, but none of my siblings had a relationship with my dad like that. So I had to make decisions, very big decisions. Are we keeping him alive? Are we going to let nature take its course? Do we know what's going to happen? It was so mind numbing. I couldn't even, and thinking back now, because this happened almost 7 years ago already,
Mhm.
I can't even imagine how I was making these kind of decisions. I was 39 years old. Like I was looking forward to turning 40 and all of these things that I had ahead of me that I thought were finally going in the right direction. And now I'm making a decision about if I have my dad have a trach and a peg put in and give him a chance at life, or if we take him off of everything and let nature take its course. And I prayed about it, and I just felt God saying, don't don't take him off of support. Like give him support, give him support. So we did. Traked and pegged my dad, and he went to brain rehab for a little over 2 years. And he was there for about 4 months before COVID happened. And then they shut everything down. So I could no longer visit. I couldn't be there. He was very infant stage when his brain injury, when he came out of coma, he didn't know how to speak, eat. like nothing. Everything had to be retaught
Mm.
to my dad. So he stayed in this rehab for a little over 2 years. And then he came home to myself and my husband. And I took care of my dad for 2 months by myself before I told my husband, I don't know what to do because I am running businesses still on the side. But my dad's a 24-hour care person. So I'm getting him up and going to the bathroom and giving him a shower and getting him dressed and feeding him and taking him to the bathroom and doing PT and OT and speech therapy and, trying to engage him and take him outside. I'm doing all of this on my own. While now I'm still dealing with things from my childhood because at this juncture, I'm having thoughts of, I'm pretty sure I'm taking better care of my dad than he ever did in my life. I bet you my dad never really sat and fed me the way that I'm feeding him. And it was a really emotional thing for me.
Mm.
I had let it go because I had forgiven my dad, long before this shooting even happened. My dad was a very big part of my life as an adult. He worked very hard to be as good of a dad as he possibly could be. But things, that kind of trauma, when you don't work on it appropriately, that's an activator because now I'm feeding my dad like he's the child. And so, of course, I'm thinking about this stuff. So, my husband and I had a very real conversation about dreams and aspirations that I still have in my life. And, shall my dad live a very long time? What I'm going to give all of this to this. And then where's my place in the world after that? I'm so afraid of being lost again because now it's happening again. And I
Mhm.
don't want the three strikes and it's out thing. It's like, oh my gosh, if I lose grip of life again, what am I going to do? So my husband came home from his job and we paired up and took care of my dad so I could still run businesses. And everything's great. I mean, he has been to so many different concerts and he had seen so many different things. And then we woke up on October 14th, 2025 to him not breathing out of the blue. He was hooked up to a BiPAP machine because he had sleep apnea. And they thought with his lack of movement, that things may be settling in his lungs periodically. So he had already been on this machine for about 2 years, helped him sleep at night, along with supportive oxygen. And this machine was supposed to alarm and did every time he'd stick a finger in, he'd yawn. When he first got this machine, he used to pull it and put it on his head. We call it the unicorn because he hated it. And then when he realized it was helping him sleep better at night, he got used to it. But if he took less than 6 breaths in a minute, it was supposed to alarm. And when I found my dad that morning, I could obviously tell something was off and called 911 and tried CPR and chest compressions until paramedics arrived, just to find out that by the time I found my dad, they assumed that he had already been gone for about 7 hours while the machine was still blowing oxygen and reading that he was still breathing on his own at 12%. So I had the machine looked at like faulty, like, do we have an issue? And no, there was no type of fault at all. It was what I believe God saving me from something that could have been a lot worse than what it turned out to be.
Mm.
God knows my heart. He knows everything about me. And he knows I would have put everything I had into that moment to try to save my dad's life.
Mhm.
And just because I would have possibly been able to get his heart back to beating doesn't mean there wouldn't have been more significant damage done to his brain. And it could have put my dad in a whole different situation, and it could have put my husband and I in a way different situation. And I believe God just let it be the way it was. So now here I am, 7 months, it'll be on the 14th of May, that my dad's already been in heaven. So I'm going through this entire grief period now.
Mhm.
But 3 months before my dad passed away, I started my self love journey because, we don't plan anything. God plans everything in his time and is always in perfection. So my husband and I had already been almost 30 days into reading our Bible every day, really strengthening our relationship with God, strengthening our relationship with each other. I mean, if you can imagine being married and now for almost 6 years, our life has just been caregiving and decisions and like big decisions. Our house is completely handicap accessible for my dad in his wheelchair and all of this stuff. And I had already started that self love journey. So now my dad passes away and I have more of an ability to give myself grace, give myself moments. not try to push myself through this grieving process. I remember 3 days after my dad passed away, my husband was playing music because music was huge for therapy for my dad. And I came walking down the stairs and I heard Led Zeppelin playing, and I already knew don't even look to the right because you're going to want to see your dad sitting there kicking his foot around, kind of bopping his head because that's what he used to do. And I knew he wasn't obviously going to be there. So I went into the garage and I did what old Darcie used to do. You're fine. Just breathe. Like, you're okay. You're fine. And I just immediately froze and was like, no, you're not. You're not. You're not fine. You're not okay. Your dad just died. Would you say that to somebody else? No, you wouldn't. So why are you saying that to yourself? So we're taking this as a moment right now, and I scream cried. I mean, it was just like this release of whatever I have to do in this moment, I'm going to do in this moment for me
Mm-hmm.
and to help myself heal appropriately. So here we are 7 months in, and people are so like, how are you doing everything that you're doing? And like you seem like you're actually okay. And I am okay for the most part. Christmas was very hard.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I celebrate the holidays like we're the Griswolds. We have 15 Christmas trees we put up. The whole house is decked out. It's crazy. And I can't even honestly tell you if there was one light on in the whole entire house. I didn't watch a Christmas movie. I think we ate like eggs and bacon or something. Like it was not like our Christmas that we do. I couldn't. And I think a lot of times we do these things in life where we become performers. Could I have performed? Yeah, probably. I probably could have. And I would have been at my sister's house while everybody else is enjoying their holiday, while I'm in the bathroom every 25 minutes, deep breathing and holding my tears in because I don't want to make a ruckus.
Mm.
And performing is not how we heal through things in life. Performing is how you get like an acting job. Life isn't a job. We shouldn't be acting. So this self-love journey that I'm on, that's what helped me get to where I'm at.
Wow. That is quite a story, my friend. I don't know if I would have, I don't know if I would have easily been able to kind of come out of that as you have. I kind of think of it in a way like what would happen if my mom were something were to happen to my mom and she'd be gone. And there've been times where I've had those thoughts and I've just been like, there's just yeah, I don't know. And maybe it's because it hasn't happened yet and God hasn't given me the strength, power, and grace for that yet. But it's terrifying to me when I think about stuff like that. So it's like, oh my gosh. But one of the biggest things that I hear from your story, which is so powerful, is in the midst of childhood trauma and job trauma and all these things that kept, just one thing after another just kept happening. You continued to rise back up. You continued to get back up. And, and you continue to draw off the strength of God. You continued, and it wasn't always easy, but you got back up. And that's like the biggest key that I'm really hearing through your story. Our topic today is the truth about recovering from drama. And what's the word I want to use? Every circumstance you were fed that was just an absolute crazy storm mess shit show, if you will, you got through that. So that pretty much says you're a fighter in more ways than any, and so that is absolutely amazing. So now, in regards to our topic here, when people hear the word trauma, what do they usually get wrong about it?
That you're just done. There's no hope for any joy in your life. There's no hope for any type of happiness. It's like we feel like now we're tainted. So this is a change. I can never come back from the loss of this.
Hmm.
When did you decide that? When did you decide that this is something that you can come back from? Because we can come back from anything that happens to us in our life. I mean, compound trauma is the worst kind of trauma. One thing on top of another on top of another. But I do have that resilience. And a lot of us have that resilience. We just don't know how to bring it out.
Mm.
That's where self love comes in. You have to love yourself.
And even forgive yourself from past mistakes or things that you allowed in your life, maybe things that you didn't have control of, but you're speaking that you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, taking accountability. We have to take accountability for ourselves. And I know people hate that word. People hate the word accountability because when you hear accountability, you're like, okay, I played a part in it. We play a part in every single thing that happens in our life, regardless if we know it or not. We cannot control every situation that happens in our life, but we can always control our reaction and how we respond to it. How we react to something or respond to something is 7 out of 10 times how that is going to go. You're ticked off because traffic is going, so slow, and this jerk is like flying up on you and everything. Do you have to give him the finger? Do you have to do that? Do you want to do it?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Probably. Do you have to? Absolutely not. Now, let's say you do, and that ends up turning into a road rage incident and somebody gets hurt. What's your accountability in that?
Mm.
Your accountability is you couldn't control yourself to not feed into somebody else's negative stuff. And we do it. We do it all the time. A lot of us just do it instinctively because we claim that that's just how I am. That's just how I operate. Well, no, that's how you choose to operate. That's how you choose to operate. Everything in our life is about choices and how we perceive the things that we're doing.
100%. And in regards to choices, like I always think somebody that I knew a while ago, I've kind of, not been in contact with her for a while, but I met her through an online networking group. And this is something that she always used to say. It was kind of like her coin phrase. Um, Choices create change. Change your choices, and your choices change. And, in every circumstance in life, you have two choices. You can either choose to be a victim of that circumstance, or you can choose to rise above it and take a higher road and take control and empower yourself. It doesn't mean that the storm has gone away. Oftentimes, that storm is still raging around you. It just means that you've chosen a higher path. So, I guess my question to you in regards to that is like, how did in like making those choices, what shaped those moments where you finally rose up and was like, I got to make this choice now, to not be a victim of this circumstance? What were those defining moments for you where you just that switch went off in your head? It's like, I got to do something. I can't stay here.
Yeah, taking care of my dad was the most rewarding, hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I mean, it was physically hard, mentally hard, emotionally hard, spiritually hard. The whole entire thing was just hard. And we did not have a lot of help at all. I mean, my husband and I think we were able to get away like overnight, maybe, maybe 3 different occasions in almost 4 years. And like even just going out for 2 or 3 hours during the day, that was probably like once every 3 months. So it was tiring and it was exhausting. And I told my husband, we got to start figuring something else out. So I'm going to start going walking. I'm going to start going walking, not with earbuds or nothing in. I need to connect with the earth and with life outside of our house because it's overwhelming. So I started going walking for about 4 miles every morning before my dad was even up in the morning, super early. And I was walking down this trail and I just was talking to God, like, how I do. What do I do? What do I do, God? Like, just show me a sign, tell me something, let something come into me because I feel like I don't even know who I am. I'm totally numb to everything that's going on. And I want to feel life. I just want to feel again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt this overwhelming power of you need to start talking about your life. You need to start talking about. Nobody even knows you. They know you as like the woman who teaches contour and halo eyes and cut creases and skincare. They don't know anything that you've gone through. This is like a victim life that you're living. Like, oh, that's interesting. Well, how the heck am I going to do that? Like what would just start going live and be like, hey, so here's a moment with Darcie. This is my childhood. Like, I thought that's weird. Well, I'm not going to do that. And I thought, oh my gosh, what about a podcast? Maybe doing a podcast is a way for me to just start
Mm,
telling. So I came home and I checked it out and, signed up for the platform of my choice. And then I was like, yeah, no, this is too hard. This is too
mhm,
much. There's too much to learn. There's too much to do. And I already have this big responsibility over here. There's no way that I can do it. So about 10 months went on. 10 months went on. And my
wow.
husband and I were invited to go to a lake house retreat with a friend of mine who is an NLP practitioner, but she teaches it. And she said, I really think you and Eric would benefit from this. I really think you guys should come. I said, okay, well, I'm in the middle of writing my chapter for a collaborative book that I did. So I'm going to bring a notebook along and I'll just probably sit and relax and chill and write. Well, unbeknownst to me, I had no idea how like wonderfully nurturing that this weekend was about to become for me. I took my notebook out one time and it was so engrossed in the good like wholesome conversation. Wholesome, good conversation. Sitting in the grass, there's butterflies, there's birds. It's not like Eric and I have never done this stuff before. We've been together for 27 years. But everything in our life has always been turmoil. We've talked about the compound trauma. So when have Eric and I really had a time of everybody's safe, everybody is okay, we're even okay. Let's just sit and actually enjoy a moment. Very rare in the time that we have been together. So I put the notebook away and I was like, well, we're not doing that this weekend. We're going to soak up all the good stuff that's happening.
Mm,
Well, when we came home after that weekend, I wrote the whole entire chapter in one sitting. It was like someone turned a faucet on. Everything just poured out of me. And the very next day, I started the podcast. The podcast was created, like I said, as a way for me to start actually talking about it because I've been wearing the Superwoman cape my whole entire life. My whole life wearing the Superwoman cape. I can do this. I can do all things. I don't need help from anybody. Why did I wear that Superwoman cape? Well, first of all, I don't want to bother anybody else and ask them for help with something. I'm impatient. If I would ask my husband to go downstairs and grab a tote for me of something that I needed, if he didn't do it in 5 minutes, here my 5 foot person is like carrying totes that are longer than I am because I just didn't have the patience to do it. So when I started the podcast, it started to feel free. It started to feel like nothing blew up. Nothing started on fire when I started talking about my story. In fact, people were like, oh my gosh, I would have had no idea that you experienced something like that. I actually experienced childhood trauma, or I experienced a big loss, or I experienced foster care, or losing a baby, or broken relationships. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, really? Would you like to talk about it? And now today is 118 episodes that have been published
woohoo.
with people just, you know, showing the light, showing that you can go through hard stuff and you can still have grief, pain, sadness can live in the same container of happy, joy, prosperity. It can all coexist with each other. We just choose. We make a choice to say, no, things are too hard for me right now. I couldn't dare go to something fun. Why not? Fun is fun. Like everybody likes to have fun,
Right.
and a lot of it is guilt. When my dad was first shot, I turned 40 3 weeks after that. And my mom's like, come on, let's go out and just have dinner together. And I'm like, how dare I go and have fun? When my dad is like laying in an ICU, and then my brain, even my subconscious, even trying to protect me before I was healing myself, was like, well, did you do it? Are you responsible for why your dad is laying in the bed that he's in? No, you're not. Furthermore, do you think that he wants you to not enjoy yourself and enjoy your life? Of course, that's not what he wants.
Hmm.
Like we know the things that we have to do, which is what I love about the NLP that I do, because we work with your subconscious to connect to your conscious mind. Your subconscious knows the things that you want to do, but we're like, ooh, no, scary, red flags all around, and we're really the ones putting the red flags out. So that loving yourself and taking control of the situation and what you can control in it sounds hard and it's really not. It's just about making the right choice.
I totally 100% agree. Now, there's a lot of people out there that talk about this about trauma, talk about that about trauma. So, I mean, how does social media or modern culture, how has that influenced how people actually view trauma and healing? And then how does a person actually get through that mess? We're literally in the information age. Like this, that, so much stuff is getting thrown at us, including there's a lot of trauma topics coming out now. And so, but how do you get through that mess? How has social media and modern culture influenced how people view trauma and healing?
Well, what I would say very respectfully, first of all, is we have to have common sense. You know, I mean, we have to stop feeling like every single incident that we go through is trauma because it's not. That's like, uh, I mean, I'm trying to come up with it. That's like somebody feeling a lump in their throat and just assuming that they have some type of like cancer,
Mm.
where somebody who actually has the cancer. You know what I mean? A
Mm-hmm.
woman finds a lump in her breast and now she has breast cancer. She doesn't. She's just saying she does, but she doesn't. Takes away from the person who actually has it. So when people are like, oh, I've gone through so much trauma, well, what's your trauma been? Well, I mean, I cannot believe how many times I've lost my wallet. And then, I'm trying to get into my car, my purse strap breaks. Ma'am, that is an inconvenience. That is so far away from like trauma. So when I'm hearing things like that, my trauma is that I didn't get enough sleep. Friend, I haven't slept normally since 2005. There is such a difference between we're saying it because it's excusing bad behavior.
Mm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
saying it because I'll tell you what it's called. It's called secondary gain. It is secondary gain. It is somebody using something as a reason to continue their shitty behavior. It
Mm-hmm.
is people using it as a reason to continue to stay stuck where they are because of the comfortability of it. And that's just it. And if that just hits you in the gut, I'm so sorry. You may want to have a conversation if you fall into one of those lanes. And that's just the reality. If you want to heal through things, you're going to hear hard things that are going to piss you off and make you sick to your stomach. But feel that and try to uncover, why are you feeling that? It very well could be because you're that person saying, you don't understand the trauma that I went through in my childhood. I mean, my friends were all going off to Beverly Hills Rodeo Drive, and we could only go to Florida to the beach when some kids have never seen the beach. That's not trauma, that's an inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have to do is, first of all, respect people that have seriously gone through it, because it's not something that is to be taken lightly. It's a hard thing to let go because most trauma is related to people that we love. Most trauma is related to things that we would have normally have found joy in had it not been a traumatic situation. My childhood, my parents. I don't even call my dad's parents my grandparents. They're my dad's parents because of the level of trauma that has been gone through. So there's no way to stop, what's happening. I mean, social media has given people the outlet to say, do whatever they please. Highlight reels are all over the place. But if you allow yourself to pay attention to your subconscious, if you allow yourself to pay attention to yourself, what your body is telling you, what your brain is telling you, not what you're being fed. When I'm working an NLP client, when we're doing a session, I'm not asking for you to tell yourself my words. I'm not saying, oh, Ken, you want to be a happier person. Well, I want you to think of joy, butterflies, and glitter. I want you to tell me, what are your things?
Right.
What are your things? Cats, podcasting, and working out. Okay, well, that's wonderful. So let's focus on those things because that's what's going to resonate with you. We're all out here wearing different masks, and so many of them are chameleons and interchangeable because we want to be like the people that we're seeing on these screens when we should be focusing on being more of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Being more of our wholesome selves. That's when change really starts to happen.
I 100% agree. Definitely. I find it funny that you pulled those three things out: and cat working out. And what was the third one you mentioned?
Podcasting.
Podcasting. Yeah. I was just like, wow, that's pretty cool. I like that. Um,
Of course you do because you like them.
yeah, exactly. Now, how do you help somebody literally, so you kind of stepped into that. So I kind of want to unpack that a little bit more. But how do you actually help somebody move from this happened to me to this is not going to control me?
Well, there's all different kinds of tools with NLP that we're able to utilize with getting you to stop playing the scary movie that you're playing in your head. Because a lot of us are playing a scary movie on repeat. Every time something happens that makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable, we hit play on the scary movie instead of replacing that with a different vision. So that's what we're going to work on. We're going to work on what are the things in your life now that are bringing you joy, so we can try to push that thought so far out of your mind that you can't even think about it because you don't see it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite techniques is called swishing. And what we do is we actually swish who you see yourself with now into who you want to see yourself as. So, for example, I worked with a woman who considered herself to be a monster mom. She felt like she was a little overbearing with the way she talked to her daughter. She wasn't excited about going to like events that other kids were at. And she just was like, "Rah," that's how she considered herself to be. So, when we got to the place, in her words, that told me about the mom that she would want to emulate or somebody that she looks up to and what her words are, we swish those two visions back and forth with a different technique that I do until when I say, okay, now bring up if you were to have the same type of ask from the other place that you were, we don't even say it now, what would you do now? And 9 out of 10 times, if we're at that level, they'll say, I don't even see that old picture anymore. They don't even see it anymore. They're so focused. We're getting it out of your way. Get it out of your way. It's one of my favorite techniques to use because it's so cool. Because so many of us want to be the best version of ourselves, but our current version is very integrated into who we are because of how long we've been this current version. So you still have the ability to do that with, NLP. I think it's such an awesome thing to be able to utilize.
Now, NLP, forgive me because I'm not really one for the technical stuff and the words. Can you unpack what is NLP for those maybe listening that is just like, what's NLP? Because I admit when I first heard it, I was just like, I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna read through it and just mention it. But so what is NLP?
NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic
There we
Programming.
go.
Yep, and it's working with your subconscious to connect to your conscious mind. And there's so many different techniques. I mean, when you work with me, I give you an hour of time. We work on one thing. Now, if it takes 4 or 5 different techniques to get that one thing working for you, that's what we'll do. And then if there's other things, then we would do other sessions. So, I mean, within an hour, I can take a woman who sees herself as monster mom to being at the end where, she's excited about going to this birthday party that she's supposed to go to this weekend instead of dreading it.
Wow, that is so powerful. I love that. Um, what about the person who is stuck in survival mode? They're stuck in that mode. And, maybe they're making the efforts to try to get out, but they just can't. So, but what is the cost of staying stuck in that survival mode for long term?
Your whole entire life. Your whole entire life, you will never experience joy, happiness, the way that you should be able to experience it. And if you're feeling stuck in survival mode, taking small steps is better than staying stagnant.
Mm,
I had just spoke with somebody about this on a podcast earlier today where she said, well, where do I start when it's even like self-love? Like, what did you do? And I said, well, I'll tell you what I did, but that's not necessarily going to be what you should do because we're all different, right?
hmm.
So self-love for me looked like slowing down. I needed to slow down, not get up in the morning and my coffee's already sitting there, my glasses are half on, and I'm already trying to view emails before my eyeballs are even adjusted. You don't have to do that. I'm choosing to do that. That used to be a
Mm,
choice of mine, right? So now
right.
I choose to slow down, actually enjoy my coffee. Sometimes stand there and look out the window, stand on my front porch and listen to the birds. There's so many different things that I have aligned with me. So I ask her, if I were to lay a platter in front of you with a whole bunch of different things on it, what's the first thing you think of when I say grab the first thing that brings you joy? She said chocolate. I said awesome. There's nothing wrong with that, but let me tell you this. This is what I would encourage you. Don't go for that piece of chocolate when there's something happening in it's a bad moment. Like, don't relate bad moment. This is going to be what makes me feel better, because it's not. That's such a temporary fix. It's the same thing that we're doing when we pick up a drink, when we pick up a pipe, when we go to the casino, all of these addictions that people have, a lot of them come because they're trying to numb this original thing, and that's how it started. So I don't want the chocolate for her to be something that she's bandaging this up for a second.
Mhm.
Eventually, any bandage in the world is going to have to be changed eventually, right? So use it as something joyful. Like, you just had a really great conversation with somebody, and I'm going to have a little bit of chocolate because it goes with the feel good feeling that I'm having right now. And then it's relatable to a feel good thing. So if that's you and you're like, I don't even know where to start. Things have been compounding. I'm surviving at this point. Okay, then maybe it's as simple as setting your alarm to not that annoying meh, meh, meh noise that it does.
Right.
Maybe you set it to one of your favorite songs that's just like, oh yes, this I could wake up to hear this every single day. Maybe it's your favorite breakfast every morning. I don't know what it is for you that you would grab off of this platter. Start there. That's it. And if one morning the alarm doesn't go off because you're supposed to sleep in, so you wake up and you have that bad feeling, it's okay to fall off as long as you get back on.
Mm.
I often think of Rocky, like how many times did Rocky get taken down and he kept standing up, where you're like, oh my gosh, can he just stay down? But for what point? For what point? Because then you're
Right.
allowing everything in your life to defeat you. Don't allow life to defeat you. You're giving too much. We give too much power to the world and the things that it does. We give too
Mhm.
much power to it. Take it back. We can't control every single thing that's happening, but we can control how we react and respond to it.
Yes.
It's that simple. It doesn't sound simple, but when you hear it, you're like, yeah, I don't have to watch the news all day long. If it's pissing you off, stop doing it. Like, just stop doing it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so, so, so very powerful. In every circumstance, you guys, you've got a choice. You can choose to be a victim or you can choose a higher path every single time. So just a couple more questions for you, Darcie, as we begin wrapping up here. Can you believe we've already like gone over 45 minutes? It's absolutely crazy. Time goes by like
Yeah,
that.
it does.
Is it possible that healing doesn't begin when the pain disappears, but when you decide that it no longer gets to lead your life?
That's exactly when it does begin, because pain never completely goes away. I will feel pain with this loss of my dad for the rest of my life until the day I take my last breath. And I hope I wake up in heaven seeing my dad. I am going to feel that pain, but it doesn't control me. It doesn't live here now, because I make the decisions and I make the choices to allow myself a moment. If I have to have a moment, I call it my reboot time.
Mm,
Right now, I'm at about 15 minutes or less. 15 minutes for a good cry, for a scream, for a rage, for, something along using my tools out of my trauma toolbox. Music, faith, Bible, water, shower, call somebody, go outside, do something. There's so many things that we can do that cost you $0 that can reset your nervous system. And I can do it now in 15 minutes or less.
that is so amazing. You know what? Before I get to the last question here, I like that toolbox thing that you got going on. You mentioned
Yeah.
that on the other show that you were a guest on, our Total True show, the toolbox. So talk about that just a little bit here before we get to the last closing question that I want to ask you. Talk about that toolbox that you have built and developed.
Yeah, so the trauma toolbox, I didn't even realize that I was actually building a toolbox, but when I talk about it, I say it probably looks different than a lot of other people's. It's pink, it's sparkly, it's just my style. But when you open it, it's got every tool in there that I have used in the course of the last 10 months on my self-love and healing journey that I have realized this makes me feel good and it's not hurting anybody or myself. So
Mm,
it's good for myself, it's good for the ecology around me. It's okay for other people. Reaching for my Bible. Like my husband and I are 240 days into reading the Bible every single day. We're on a 1 year journey to read the Bible every single day. 240 days into doing that. That has been a lifesaver. Drinking water. Hi, hello. You know your body needs us to exist, right? So instead of reaching for, oh, I'm feeling so just tired and uncomfortable, I'm gonna drink a soda, I'm gonna drink a coffee, you're going to feel worse in times two if you do things like that. Nourish your body. Music, huge. Oh my
hmm
gosh. And I'm not talking about music that makes you like want to dance. I'm talking about for me, what works is put my praise hands up type of music.
mm,
Recenters me
100%.
and regrounds me and knows
Yes.
that God is here and He is present and He knows your heart and He's going to make everything feel okay. When you are able to give that up and you know that God is here and He is present, the safety that you feel in that situation. My newest tool that I created was replaying different movie scenes in my head when a scary movie would start in my head. So finding my dad the morning that he passed away, as you can imagine, was extremely scary. I couldn't stop thinking about it for the first 3 weeks, and I'm like, I got to figure something out. And then I started thinking about some of the parts of movies like Beverly Hills Cop and Pretty Woman and, Roadhouse, things like that. And then my favorite parts of those movies, I would play the part that I remembered. And then I wasn't thinking about my dad in that morning anymore. I thought, oh my gosh, I just created a tool. Now I can talk about this whole entire situation and not break down, not have this emotional thing because I NLP'd my own self out of thinking about the graphicness of what happened that morning. Now it's an event that has happened, but I don't need to replay every single detail of that morning. Now it's like an overview of it. Like you never have to go so deep into your trauma for people to understand it the way you need them to.
hmm
An overview typically does pretty well. So the trauma toolbox, everybody should have one, whatever it is that you feel like
So
you
awesome.
reach for that works in your situation and it's healthy for you, for the people around you, and for the world at large. Use it every time.
That is so awesome. I love that. I love the concept of it. There was a part of me that was in the beginning wanting to ask the question. Now, is this an actual physical toolbox? But I get it. It's actually maybe possibly not. It's metaphorically, but it is so freaking powerful. And I love the fact that you've got like the details. So it's pink and it's got this and I just love that. So in closing, and I think this is a very appropriate closing question to what we've just kind of unpacked here. What are 3 to 5 powerful things you'd like to leave the listener with today?
Well, I would say your story is not over.
Mm,
In fact, if you are just getting into your healing journey, your life is about to just begin. You're about to go from feeling like you have been surviving your whole life to actually experience what it's like to actually live. Living is so different than surviving. You have all of the tools that you need. You may not know it yet, but you do. You have all of the tools that you need to live a happy, successful life and still make room for the things that we are still grieving.
mm,
Like I'm so tender to that because grief and healing, they go hand in hand and they are something we're probably going to experience for our whole entire life, but they can live in the same container as joy. They can live in the same container as peace and happiness. And you're worthy of it. Take small steps. Take small steps. Small steps lead to big change. Continue walking forward. If you slip back a little bit, give yourself grace, stand back up, and keep going forward. And the things that you're going to experience in this life in a wholesome way, not just because you're there, actually being present in the things that we do in this life when you are in a healing, grounded moment,
Mm.
it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Wow, that is so powerful. Darcie, how can people connect with you and begin working with you? If they want to get into your world, they want to connect with you, work with you, even hear your stuff. How can they connect with you and get into your world?
Well, the easiest place to go is darcieburtch.com. I kind of made it easy for everybody. You can find all my
Awesome.
websites there. You can find the NLP, you can find the podcast, you can be a guest on the show, you can find everything there.
That is amazing. So you guys, Darcie's bio is going to be in the description below this video, as well as the link to get into her world. And so you'll find all of that in the description below, and a very, very clickable and easy access. So as we wrap up, perhaps this is your first time seeing anything from me, and you're kind of like wondering, well, great, that's great for Darcie, but who's this Ken guy? Well, I've lost 62 and a half pounds and I've kept it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. The question that I often get from a lot of people is, how in the world have you exited out of the 95% percentile of people that have gone to lose weight and have gained it back over time, and stepped into the 5% of people that have actually been able to sustainably keep it off? Well, I'm going to tell you what it's not. It's not a diet. It's not about a list. It's not about spending thousands of dollars on supplements and all that stuff and shakes. And it's not about any of that. Right now, I'm literally giving away my 3 secrets to not only help you feel energized, to lose weight, or to get healthy without starving or dieting, but I am in just 3 one-on-one sessions. I'm giving away those 3 secrets. I'm exposing the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I'm showing each and every person how they can fuel their body God's way and finally keep the weight off for life sustainably, like I've been able to. So that is a very powerful mini educational boot camp. It's not an eating plan. It's not a workout plan. It is an educational foundation, one that I can promise you'll never be moved from ever again. Doesn't matter what the industry throws at you. Doesn't matter what messaging happens out there. You will never be moved from this foundation. I can promise you that. It's very freeing and empowering. The links to get into my world and connect with me and to join that mini educational boot camp will also be in the description below all Darcie's stuff. So you'll see Darcie's stuff first, and then below that, you'll see my links. So encourage you, jump aboard that boot camp. You won't be disappointed with it. So with that, Darcie, do you have any last minute thoughts?
Well, I'm really excited to see how many people jump into both of our worlds.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
I think, if we can start nailing being healthy emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, talk about peace and being unstoppable.
100%. 100%. So, all right, you guys, that is a wrap for this interview. Have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. We will catch you on the next um, interview episode, and I will talk to you guys later.